Las Vegas Raiders wide receiver Henry Ruggs III was driving over 100 miles per hour with a blood alcohol content twice Nevada's legal limit before his sports car slammed into the rear of a vehicle that resulted in a fire and death of an innocent woman. So what happened that led to such a fatal incident? Keep watching to find out. Just recently on Tuesday, November 2nd, Henry Ruggs III was found driving 156 miles per hour while highly intoxicated, resulting in a deadly crash. The collision ended up killing a 23-year-old woman and led to Ruggs and his girlfriend Kiara Kilgo Washington having to be transported to the University Medical Center for serious injuries. Though nothing was disclosed, it's been said that Ruggs did suffer a leg injury and that his girlfriend underwent surgery for a severe arm injury. After being released from the hospital, Ruggs was booked into a Las Vegas jail and appeared in front of a judge not too long after. The 22-year-old remained seated in a wheelchair with a foam brace on his neck and jail guards at his elbows during his initial court appearance Wednesday on pending felony charges of driving under the influence of alcohol, resulting in death and reckless driving. The victim, who lived only blocks away from the crash, was Tina O'Tintor, who sadly died with her dog in a wrecked and burned Toyota Rav4. In the court hearing, Las Vegas Justice of the Peace Joe M. Bonaventure said he was troubled by his initial review of Ruggs' case, adding that in 16 years on the bench he had never heard of a crash that involved a vehicle traveling so fast. Nonetheless, he rejected the prosecutor's request to set Ruggs' bail at $1 million and narrowed it down to $150,000 with strict conditions, including home confinement, electronic monitoring, no alcohol, no driving, and the surrender of his passport. Not too long after the hearing, it was reported that Ruggs posted the $150,000 bond. Back in 2008, Joe M. Bonaventure was the one who returned former football star O.J. Simpson to jail for violating terms of his pre-trial release in the Las Vegas armed robbery case that eventually sent Simpson to prison. And similarly, the judge warned Ruggs that if he didn't comply with his release restrictions, he could face rearrest and return to jail. Along with trying to up the bail, the prosecutor, Wolfson, stated that he also intends on filing a second felony DUI charge against Ruggs related to his girlfriend Kiara's injuries. And if that weren't enough, the district attorney said that he might also file a weapon charge against Ruggs related to possessing a gun while under the influence of alcohol. This comes from a police report of finding a loaded gun on the floor of the footballer's car after the crash. According to the airbag computer records, it showed that Ruggs' Corvette deaccelerated from 156 miles per hour to 127 miles per hour before fatally slamming into the Toyota at around 3 o'clock in the morning, rupturing the Toyota's fuel tank and igniting a fire. Attorney Eric Baumann said Ruggs was uncooperative with police and medical workers, and his blood alcohol level taken within the required 2 hours after the crash was 0.16%, which is double Nevada's legal limit. The police also said previously in a statement that Ruggs showed signs of impairment. Also, according to the prosecutor, the NFL Players Association has contracted with rideshare services since 2013 to provide free transportation to members specifically to prevent tragedies like these. So what's going to happen to Ruggs? Well, in Nevada, probation is not an option for conviction on a charge of DUI causing death or DUI causing substantial bodily injury. However, both carry a possible sentence of 2 to 20 years in state prison, added to a possible 1 to 6 years for reckless driving. In fact, it's been said that Ruggs could face up to 46 years behind bars if convicted. As for what happened before the fatality, it's been said that Ruggs spent several hours late Monday at Top Golf and after may have been at a friend's home for a few more hours. While not much is known on what the future for Ruggs looks like, he is due again in court coming up on November 10th. With all this said, what has Ruggs' now past team, the Raiders, had to say about this incident? The Raiders didn't wait around for courts to act as they issued a brief statement the same night as the incident, announcing Ruggs' release. Prior to releasing Ruggs' late Tuesday night, the Raiders released a statement where they explained that they are aware of the accident and that they are very devastated by the loss of a life and are sending their thoughts and prayers out to the victim's family, adding that they are in the process of gathering more information on what went down. Following up on Wednesday, Raiders interim head coach Rich Bisaccia opened his press conference with a statement about the situation, stating, "We want to express our sincere condolences to the victim's family. A person lost their life yesterday morning, and we think it's important to keep focus on that as we talk about this tragic event. We're deeply saddened for everyone affected, especially the victim's family," adding on, Bisaccia expressed the team's love for Henry Ruggs, stating that it was a terrible lapse in judgment and something that he will have to live with for the rest of his life. Earlier on in the day, the team and the league offered condolences to the family of the woman who died and promised to gather facts about what the NFL called this devastating incident. Devastating indeed. Ruggs was supposed to be a cornerstone for the Raiders. He was picked 12th overall in the 2020 draft, following 3 years at Alabama, which included helping the Crimson Tide win the NCAA championship as a freshman in 2017. He was emerging as a star season with 24 catches for a team-high 469 yards and 2 touchdowns. With a sad ending for both the woman killed and Ruggs' football career, who are some of NFL players who have got caught on drugs? One notable one is Greg Robinson, who got caught with a hefty amount of marijuana. The NFL offensive tackle was kept in a Texas jail without bond in February of 2020 after federal agents said that they had found approximately 157 pounds of marijuana in a rented vehicle in which he and 2 other people were riding in. Robinson, who was 27 at the time, of Thibodaux, Louisiana, and Jaquan Tyreek Bray, who was 26 from Georgia, were charged with conspiracy to possess marijuana with an intent to distribute. After the findings, both were held without bond and a potential of spending 20 years in federal prison. The whole story starts when Robinson, Bray, and an unidentified third person were driving from Los Angeles to Louisiana in a rented car through a remote section of West Texas. Then, when the car passed a Border Patrol agent with a drug-sniffing dog, the animal quickly detected the scent of marijuana. The agent radioed ahead to a checkpoint where the patrol inspected the vehicle. Once searched, they were found with a large duffel bag containing marijuana and also found glass jars, packaging equipment, and $3,100 in cash. It's been said that the unidentified passenger was an Uber driver who also drove and ran errands for Robinson and his family and friends. According to cell phone texts, Robinson had apparently offered to pay the passenger if they claimed ownership of the drugs, but the passenger refused, as seen in the text, and even stated that if they were aware of the drugs in the vehicle, they wouldn't have made the trip in the first place. Since then, Robinson hasn't played on the field. Another former NFL player who got caught with drugs was wide receiver Sam Hurd, who was actually sentenced to 15 years in prison for his role in starting a drug distribution scheme while playing for the Chicago Bears, completing a steep downfall that ended his football career and left his future in tatters. Hurd, who was 28 at the time but is now 36, received the punishment in a federal courtroom in Dallas after pleading guilty to 1 count of trying to buy and distribute large amounts of cocaine and marijuana. The charge carried a minimum 10-year sentence and a maximum of life. Authorities say that while NFL teammates and friends knew him as a hardworking wide receiver and married father, Hurd was hiding away a separate identity as a wannabe drug kingpin, with a focus on high-end deals and a need for large amounts of drugs. However, U.S. District Judge Jorge Salas gave Hurd a much shorter sentence than the 27 to 34 years recommended by federal sentencing guidelines. Hurd was arrested in December of 2011 after he tried to buy a kilogram of cocaine from an undercover agent. He even told the agent that he wanted 1,000 pounds of marijuana and 5 to 10 kilograms of cocaine per week to distribute around the Chicago area. In addition, he admitted that he was already distributing 4 kilograms per week. At the time, Hurd was a wide receiver with stints for the Bears and Dallas Cowboys, who had played most of his 5 seasons on special teams. He was in the first year of a 3-year contract reportedly worth more than $5 million. However, as many can suspect, the Bears soon cut him. Although Hurd was released on bail and returned to Texas, where he grew up, he soon fell into trouble again and continued to spiral down the bunny hole, only getting into more trouble. With that said, that's going to wrap up this video. What are your thoughts on the Ruggs incident? Let us know in the comments. Thanks for watching.